Okay, it's time for Health and Healing Highlights. I'm Ben Kramlich, not Sharon Petrozenko. We're going to talk about something that we probably never realized there was as much to know as what hopefully I'm about to share. So if I do my job right here, we will have a newfound appreciation for apples. Apples, there they are. So, do we have them? We do have them. Awesome. So, has anybody ever seen apples like that in the store?
No. It's a plum. Looks like a plum.
It sure does look like a plum, doesn't it? Well, those aren't plums. Those are heirloom apples. And as we'll go through this here, there's a huge difference between heirloom apples and apples in the store. And an heirloom apple is simply an apple that is from before 1900. And the difference between most of the apples in the store, not all of them, most of them, is that they're removed from the way that God set up pollination. They're isolating two varieties, and they're only taking pollen from one of those varieties, and then they're doing it manually, and they're putting that pollen on the other one, and then they exclude it from all the natural ways of pollination, the insects, the bees, all these things. So over time, man's wisdom is his foolishness. We're going to see this over time. We're left with things that in the store that have the outward form, but without the power thereof, right? It's all patterns, guys. It's all patterns. And so, yes, and the apples in the stores, yeah, they do have some beauty, but when you see some of these apples that we're about to see, man, I will take these any day just on beauty alone. And so, yeah, let's take a look at this. There we go. So, guys, does an apple a day, does it really keep the doctor away? We're going to look at a little bit of science here. This is fascinating. This is a recent study, and it looked at 46 overweight men who had high cholesterol and triglycerides, and they agreed to participate in an eating experiment. 23 of the men did not change their diets and served as the control group. The other 23 men agreed to add one Golden Delicious apple a day, and they kept up with their regular normal diets. That was the only change that they made. The goal of the study was to see if eating more fruit would improve their health. All right, that should be true, right? Absolutely. So, at the end of the 2-month-long study, the fats in the blood of the men and women, or the men in the groups, were measured, both the control group and the group who included the Golden Delicious apple a day, and the results were compared. And they were compared to the results. They took labs at the beginning of the study, too. To the surprise of the researchers, the men who had eaten an apple a day had higher levels of triglycerides and LDL cholesterol than they had at the beginning of the study, giving them an increased risk of heart disease and stroke. What in the world is going on there? That would seem to completely fly against what we're taught. More fruits and vegetables, more fruits and vegetables. Does that mean we should just go back to eating meat? Golden Delicious, that's the key. The investigators were puzzled, and they concluded that the results had to do with the variety of the apple. They had chosen the Golden Delicious. They discovered that it was too low in phytonutrients. What are phytonutrients? They're the chemicals in the plant that are its defense. And so that protects it against harmful UV radiation, protects it against other pests, insects, and all kinds of other things. And so plants that have more of those that we're intaking, they're affecting our health as well. It's just an amazing process that our Father has set up through His Son. And so, yes, they discovered it was too low, and it wasn't able to lower men's cholesterol, and the high sugar raised the triglycerides. Yeah, high sugar. Like we're thinking it's an apple, it's not Skittles. We should be good, right? So what does this mean? Should we really be so surprised, considering the history of man and the curse of sin over 6,000 years of this world? Do we think that this has also had an effect on the very foods that we have grown? Most of us don't even grow our own food anymore. I didn't like 4 or 5 years ago. And I thought I was doing good. I'd just go to the organic stores, right? Go to the natural food stores and spend an exorbitant amount of money for the form without the power thereof, as we're going to find out more about. So it's really quite astounding. So what varieties should we eat, guys? I remember I mentioned the heirloom apples. and that there's a difference between those, which are typically the ones before 1900. There still can be apples like that today. As long as that apple is allowed to have pollen coming in, which is how God set it up, from all the insects bringing it, the genetic diversity is at its maximum. But when man says, I am going to take it out of its natural state, I'm going to unnaturally breed these plants, as simple as preventing all of the other pollen from all the other apples from getting there, we're going to suffer consequences, as we see in that Golden Delicious. And the trees themselves, there are also major consequences for the health of the tree. So then we have to add another element to this. Man's wisdom is his foolishness. So we isolate and we try to produce these apples that are bigger and sweeter and crunchier and all these things. They keep longer, they hold up better in cold refrigeration. And then in the process, then we realize, oh, all of a sudden there's these pests and diseases that we didn't have before. Well, what do? Let's treat the symptom just like our health and our bodies, right? Let's just hit the symptom, not address the cause. So what do? We develop the plant version of pills and antibiotics and all that stuff for them. So we have sprays. We have pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, insecticides, bactericides, all of this stuff. And we have to, in order to keep these modern apples looking blemish-free and all big and beautiful, they have to spray these things up to 10 times a year. So you have an apple that already doesn't have the nutrients, it doesn't have the ability to resist disease, so then you have to bring in all the sprays, and then you put in all the toxins that come out of the sprays. It's ludicrous. It's insanity. But this is what we do, guys. This is left up to ourselves. So hopefully this theme, we want to just be thinking on this theme daily. This is why we need the wisdom from on high. The original apple. Any ideas where the original apple is from? I should say the original, at least as far as we know, back to the flood, is what I would be adding to that. Kazakhstan. Yes, that's right. It's because I've talked about this with a few of you before. There we go, guys. That is the home right there. The Almaty region of southeastern Kazakhstan, which shares the border of China. The Almaty, I think it literally means like father of apples. So the people believe there for who knows how long, as far back as written record goes, that this is the birthplace of the modern apple. There's just a picture of some of the beautiful scenery there. And I'll just read you a little bit of how do we know this? Science has looked at DNA. They looked at a DNA analysis, and this is what they say. The results of genetic sequencing of the trees by researchers show that the apple forests of Kazakhstan are without a doubt the birthplace of apples. In fact, at this point, it looks like 90% of the world's apples are descendants of just 2 trees. Kazakhs were absolutely right when they named their city of Almaty the fatherland of apples. One of the reoccurring themes when sequencing genes in order to find the source of a particular fruit or vegetable is that at the geographical location of their origin, so where the original ones are coming from, the diversity of that particular plant or tree is at its greatest. So the further we go away from that, the further man starts to tamper with that, remove it from the natural processes of pollinization, the more detrimental. We create a genetic bottleneck. We start to inbreed our fruits and our vegetables and our nuts and our seeds. The apples now in the market today are subject to scab, cedar apple rust, fire blight, powdery mildew, and the exit wounds of coddling moss. Consumers are put off by the slightest imperfection, so the solution will spray them 10 times a year. The native apples of Kazakhstan have an incredible amount of disease resistance. So we have bred that out in our quest for bigger and sweeter. And let's check this out too. The trees, the size of the trees there. Philip Forslund found a 300-year-old apple tree that was 50 feet tall. 50 feet. That's a big tree. I don't even know what a 50-foot apple tree looks like. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And let's look at some more pictures of this here. There's just some pictures of, these are the wild apple forests of Kazakhstan. So this is what you guys are seeing there. I can't say for sure that the one right in front of you is an apple tree, but in the back probably. But it's just giving you an idea of the forest, which I would really love to see. It would be a tremendous blessing. There's another one of the apples there. Look at that. It's as big and as beautiful as any of the modern store apples. In fact, a lot of them, they'll rival it. When people go and visit it, they say, these taste as good, if not better, than anything we've ever found. and you're not spraying them. These things are growing in forests. They're growing in shade. All the things that man would tell you that you can't do it with apples. They don't work like that. It's just incredible. Look at those beautiful things. Amazing. There's just the diversity. Those are all coming from those wild apple forests. So every single one of those trees in this forest, see, this is what we know. It's just like people. Each one of us is unique. It's the same way with apples. The same way with a lot of fruits. Each one of those seeds, when it produces a mature tree that yields fruit, is going to be different. So within that forest, you have thousands. Every single tree is different. Can you imagine all that variety? That's extraordinary. Extraordinary. Look at those beautiful things. There's another one. Look at all the different colors and shapes. And every one of them tastes different too.
White.
Yes, I know. It's just incredible. There's a whole bunch more. And can you imagine there? I mean, that's what you just go out there and there's breakfast. Then you go out there again and then you have a whole different set of flavors for lunch. Absolutely. I would absolutely do an apple fest. It'd be fantastic. There's another one. There's all the different, look at the different shapes, colors, patterns. What, of course, they look like cherries. They look all kinds of things. It's just beautiful. And there's, that is an heirloom apple. So these all came from these wild apples, and these are the ones that have still been allowed to have open pollination, and they're growing on their own. Man has not removed them. And look at the beauty of this. Do we see things like that in the store? And the taste, guys, the taste of heirloom apples, it can taste like anything you could possibly think of. It can taste sweet, it can probably even taste salty, it can taste spicy, it can taste savory, they can taste like nuts, they can taste like bananas, raspberries, strawberries. It's amazing. Flowers, absolutely. Look at that, look at the colors on that. Russet apples. Beautiful. And that's just referring to the way that kind of rougher with that beautiful color. Here's another example of a russet apple. It's got that, almost looks like a dusting on it. It's just incredible beauty. It shows how much our Father loves us to give us all this diversity. Look at that, Arkansas black. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. Winter banana. Look at those apples. Yeah, can you believe that? Those actually, they do. They have hints of banana flavor. It's amazing. Guys, there were 15, at like 1905, there were 15,000 different varieties of apples in America alone. And today, we basically eat from 10 varieties. So in 100 years' time, we've lost that much genetic diversity. No wonder why we have the problem with our health and with the health of the trees as well. It's just incredible. Red-fleshed apples. Look at this. Look at that. Red and, can you believe this stuff? It's amazing. Yates. Okay, guys, this is, yes, we're going to have these for, I wish for all of you guys out there on the live stream, I wish you were here with us. We're going to be having these apples. I was blessed. This is a praise to our Father. After a long search of trying to find heirloom and organic apples anywhere near us, He opened up the way, and I was completely surprised. The man he still had apples that he kept all the way from last October when they were ripe until now. And so we're going to be able to share. I'm going to share this blessing with you guys today. And there's just more pictures, and these are pictures that I took of these. Look at these they're little apples, but man, oh man, are they beautiful, and they're just so fragrant. And so let me leave you with one last thing here.